It's hard to imagine how an entire city can get lost, but that's exactly what has happened to the lost cities on this list. There are actually many reasons why a city has to be abandoned. War, natural disasters, climate change, and the loss of important trading partners, to name a few. Whatever the cause, these lost cities were forgotten in time until they were rediscovered centuries later. Far and beyond presence, the top 10 lost cities forgotten by time. 10. Valsy. Valsy was a farmstead of the Eastern Settlement, the largest of the 3 Viking settlements in Greenland. They were settled in approximately 985 AD by Norse farmers from Iceland. At its peak, the site contained approximately 4,000 inhabitants. Following the demise of the Western settlement in the mid-14th century, the Eastern settlement continued for another 60 to 70 years. In 1408, a wedding was recorded at the Valsy church, but that was the last word to come from Greenland. 9. Ani. Situated along a major east-west caravan route, Ani first rose to prominence in the 5th century AD and had become a flourishing town and the capital of Armenia in the 10th century. The many churches built there during this period included some of the finest examples of medieval architecture and earned its nickname as the City of 1,001 Churches. At its height, Ani had a population of 100,000 to 200,000 people. It remained the chief city of Armenia until Mongol raids in the 13th century, a devastating earthquake in 1319, and shifting trade routes sent it into an irreversible decline. Eventually, the city was abandoned and largely forgotten for centuries. The ruins are now located in Turkey. 8. Palenque. Palenque in Mexico is much smaller than some of the other lost cities of the Maya, but it contains some of the finest architecture and sculptures the Maya ever produced. Most structures in Palenque date from about 600 AD to 800 AD. The city declined during the 8th century. An agricultural population continued to live here for a few generations. Then the lost city was abandoned and was slowly grown over by the forest. 7. Tiwanaku. Located near the southeastern shore of Lake Titicaca in Bolivia, Tiwanaku is one of the most important precursors to the Inca Empire. During the time period between 300 BC and 300 AD, Tiwanaku is thought to have been a moral and cosmological center to which many people made pilgrimages. The community grew to urban proportions between the 7th and 9th centuries, becoming an important regional power in the southern Andes. At its maximum extent, the city had between 15,000 to 30,000 inhabitants, although recent satellite imaging suggests a much larger population. Around 1000 AD, after a dramatic shift in climate, Tiwanaku disappeared as food production. The empire's source of power and authority dried up. 6. Pompeii. On August 24, 79 AD, the volcano Vesuvius erupted, covering the nearby town Pompeii with ash and soil, and subsequently preserving the city in its state from that fateful day. Everything from jars and tables to paintings and people were frozen in time. Pompeii, along with Herculaneum, were abandoned, and eventually their names and locations were forgotten. They were rediscovered as the results of excavations in the 18th century. The lost cities have provided an extraordinarily detailed insight into the life of people living 2,000 years ago. 5. Teotihuacan. In the 2nd century BC, a new civilization arose in the Valley of Mexico. This civilization built the flourishing metropolis of Teotihuacan and its huge step pyramids. A decline in population in the 6th century AD has been correlated to lengthy droughts related to the climate changes. 7 centuries after the demise of the Teotihuacan Empire, the pyramids of the lost city were honored and utilized by the Aztecs and became a place of pilgrimage. 4. Petra. Petra, the fabled rose-red city, half as old as time, was the ancient capital of the Nabatean kingdom. A vast, unique city, carved into the side of the Wadi Musa Canyon in southern Jordan centuries ago by the Nabateans, who turned it into an important junction for the silk and spice routes that linked China, India, and southern Arabia with Egypt, Greece, and Rome. After several earthquakes crippled the vital water management system, the city was almost completely abandoned in the 6th century. After the Crusades, Petra was forgotten in the Western world until the lost city was rediscovered by the Swiss traveler Johann Ludwig Burckhardt in 1812. 3. Tikal. Between ca. 200 to 900 AD, Tikal was the largest Mayan city with an estimated population between 100,000 and 200,000 inhabitants. As Tikal reached peak population, the area around the city suffered deforestation and erosion, followed by a rapid decline in population levels. Tikal lost the majority of its population during the period from 830 to 950, and central authority seems to have collapsed rapidly. After 950, Tikal was all but deserted, although a small population may have survived in huts among the ruins. Even these people abandoned the city in the 10th or 11th centuries, and the Guatemalan rainforest claimed the ruins for the next 1,000 years. 2. Angkor. Angkor is a vast temple city in Cambodia featuring the magnificent remains of several capitals of the Khmer Empire from the 9th to the 15th century AD. These include the famous Angkor Wat Temple, the world's largest single religious monument, and the Bayon Temple at Angkor Thom, with its multitude of massive stone faces. During its long history, Angkor went through many changes in religion, converting between Hinduism to Buddhism several times. The end of the Angkorian period is generally set as 1431, the year Angkor was sacked and looted by Ayutthaya invaders, though the civilization already had been in decline. Nearly all of Angkor was abandoned, except for Angkor Wat, which remained a Buddhist shrine. 1. Machu Picchu. One of the most famous lost cities in the world, Machu Picchu was rediscovered in 1911 by Hawaiian historian Hiram after it lay hidden for centuries above the Urubamba Valley. The lost city of the Incas is invisible from below and completely self-contained, surrounded by agricultural terraces and watered by natural springs. Although known locally in Peru, it was largely unknown to the outside world before being rediscovered in 1911. So there you have it. 10 lost cities forgotten by time. What did you think? Did you learn something new? Which one was your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Far and Beyond.